Okay, I lied when I said Arkham City was the greatest game of all time. This is the greatest game of all time. And there we have it, truly the greatest game of all time, in my opinion. And now it's on PC. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to get it set up, how to get it going, how to up the graphics, how to get the music sorted. Let's get straight into it. And no, this isn't clickbait, by the way. This is running properly off of my PC, as you can see, using my PS5 controller. So let's get right into how you set it up. So starting off with the emulator we're using, it is Citra. And I've renamed it Nintendo 3DS up here because that's exactly what it is. It's, compared to Desmune, the DS one, it's super easy to use, super easy to get, really user friendly, and just really nice in loading up everything you're doing, everything you're using. It's just really nice. Now in terms of legality, using the emulator is perfectly legal, you'll have no issues there, but downloading the game file off the internet from some dodgy ROM site is illegal. So what you want to do properly is dump your file from your 3DS, your proper cartridge. And I'll give you a full tutorial of how to do that now. So in terms of how it looks once you get it going, you can either choose exactly as I have here to have one single screen in the screen layout, or you can choose to have a large screen so you can see the map by your side. I tend to prefer the larger screen with a little map when I'm in combat situations so I can see all of my players' healths and so on, whereas when I'm watching a cutscene or something like that, I will go for single screen. It's not quite full screen, you can see the black bars at the side, that's because the DS resolution isn't quite 16:9 in terms of screen length to width ratio, but it's pretty good. Now in terms of graphics, what you're seeing at the moment is 4K. Not perfect 4K of course, its native resolution is much lower than that. As you can see, it's 3600 by 2160, so 9 times the native resolution of the original DS. If we put it back to native, you can see just how much difference it makes. That was what you got on the original 3DS version, but with Citra you can get it all the way up to nearly what is practically 4K, and it looks pretty damn good. In terms of the system requirements you need for this, I'm running it on an RTX 3060, and as you can see it's only using about 30% of my GPU, even at 4K settings. So you don't need a massively powered computer to do this. It's not the most intensive game. It runs pretty well on everything, even if you have to turn the resolution down a little bit. Unfortunately, it is capped at 30Hz, you can't get it to 60, but it's not too bad in terms of modern day comparison, given that it is, you know, originally a 2004 game. It runs pretty well. In terms of controls, you can play this with mouse and keyboard, or indeed any controller you fancy. Just go over to emulation and then configure, go over to controls, and then press whichever button you want to use for each circumstance. Using mouse and keyboard, that's simple, you just press any button you like. Xbox controller, similarly, plug it in, press any button. If you're using a PlayStation controller like I am, you do need an additional software to get this working. and what I use is DS4. What it does is fools the computer into thinking you're using an Xbox controller, so you can just plug it in and play straight away. You can do this wirelessly as well. Now in terms of the music, unfortunately when Square Enix sent this game over to Europe and the US, they didn't bother to sort out the soundtracks, which means we got these shitty MIDI versions of the songs, instead of the proper orchestral ones. So if we open up the original version of the game, and have a little comparison. So here we're getting the original MIDI version of the music, the opening title crawl. And now we compare that to the orchestral version, which I have modded in. So much nicer. Now, in terms of modding the game yourself, you're going to need 4 things. You're going to need, number 1, the music files. Personally, I use the album for Dragon Quest VIII. You're going to need some sort of software to convert those MP3 files into WM4. Personally, I use iTunes. You're then going to need Yata Plus, which is a software that converts those WM4 to BCSTM, which is the sound files the 3DS uses. And then you're going to need the 3DS hacking toolkit, where we're going to replace the original in-game files with our orchestral versions to make it sound that much nicer. I'm not going to give a full tutorial on here. What I will do is link a video that is the one I used that gives a perfect explanation of exactly how to do just that. The problem with using the album as I have is that the tracks don't loop, unfortunately. You do want to find the original soundtracks if you can, but it does lead to a few interesting situations within the game. So as you can hear with this song in particular, this is the battle music. The problem with using the album version is it has this lovely little end. I mean, it's beautiful, but it doesn't quite match the tone of the original music. If you did have the proper version of the soundtrack, it would just loop normally, but we get this little nuance instead, which, not the end of the world, but it's a little bit strange. Oh, the story. I mean, I've read a lot of books, and I've seen a lot of films, but the story of this game just beats everything else that's been made ever. When you first start playing, you might make the mistake of thinking it's just a silly kids game with silly voice acting.
Who's Codger? I do hope you're not referring to me.
But it's so much more than that. It's a story about death, about love, and about friendship in the face of adversity and the end of the world, and how it triumphs and how it just beats the darkness everywhere. The story is so powerful, and the ending is more emotional than anything I've ever experienced before.
Thank you. I will forever be in your debt. You always come to my aid, whenever I'm in need. But let us make this the last time, shall we? I must learn to look after myself. After all, I shan't have you at my beck and call forever. Captain, you are dismissed, with immediate effect. You may consider that a direct order from your princess. You have done your duty. Now, please, follow your dreams. You have your own life to live. Say you will. You mean you would rather stay with me? I'm so happy to hear you say that. I'm so very lucky to have you. Never mind that now, Father. Look, we're home. Home for good.
All in all, this game is just the perfect summer chill-out game. The music is beautiful, the scenery is beautiful, and the story is better than anything I've ever heard or seen before. The additions the 3DS version made were brilliant. It extended the gameplay to hours beyond belief, and now we've got it on the PC as well, up on the big screen with beautiful graphics and through the main speakers. It's as close to the perfect game as I think we're ever going to get. Oh, and just for anyone that chose the Jessica ending, fuck you.